All right, welcome to the show, y'all. Today gets wild, y'all. So in just a second, I'm sure you've all heard the news about Palantir. Trump is building a mass spying and blackmail network, a database on all Americans. I'm going to walk you through that. Man, I mean, this is straight Orwellian 1984 authoritarian type stuff. I'm even seeing some MAGA accounts look at this and go, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. All right, so we'll talk about that. We also have Joni Ernst gave us perhaps one of the most devastating moments of modern political history when she shoved her foot directly in her mouth. She defended slashing Medicaid by saying, we're all going to die. And then she doubled down on that. I'll show you those videos. It is absolutely wild. We'll also get into Elon Musk. He is now officially a hot-ass mess. We covered the other day the big breaking news story about how he apparently takes 20 drugs on a daily basis. He's on a speedball 24/7, can't control his emotions. He's like a fully grown toddler. There's more to say about that. I got a new interview with him. We got some new back and forth with the Trump regime. We also have Trump going full QAnon psychopath. I have some updates coming out of Israel and Gaza for you. That I'm giving you a warning in advance for that one. That story is hard to listen to and watch. It really is. When you see what they're doing to these poor, innocent, starving Palestinians, they're basically luring them with food and then mass murdering them. And then we also have a deal that was on the table that Israel rejected. When I give you the terms of this deal that Israel rejected, you will never look at Israel the same again, ever. And then later on, Trump wakes up to Elon being a total fraud. That's a hilarious story. Trump's approval rating tanked to a second-term low. And Tim Walz, man, I swear to God he's watching this show because he is coming out and saying what no other Democrat will, and he is on point. He gave just a barn burner of a speech in South Carolina, and I can't wait to show you some clips for it. So you guys know the drill. Everybody, please do me a huge favor. Subscribe to the channel. That helps out big time and costs you absolutely nothing at all. Basically, what it does is it spreads these videos out through the algorithm, gets more eyeballs on it, grows the show, etc. So I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. Thank you to everybody who supports the show on Patreon. We could not do it without you. I've never talked to an advertiser. I've never done an ad read. This is grassroots independent media. You guys fund it from the ground up. I cannot thank you enough for that. And of course, go support Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. That link is below as well. And go subscribe to my boy Corin's YouTube channel. The name of the channel is Corin's World. We post Kyle and Corin episodes over there. We still haven't missed a week since we started putting it on his channel. I believe he's at about 13,000 subscribers right now. We're trying to get him to 100,000. So hook a brother up with that and enjoy old school Kyle and Corin episodes. I think you'll enjoy that. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it, y'all. So huge news came out the other day, as I'm sure most of you have seen, that Trump is partnering with this tech data company named Palantir. And the whole idea of them getting together is to build a mass database on all Americans, taking like hundreds of data points about every individual and putting them into a file that the government then has. Okay? Now let me just pause for a second to point out. Could you imagine what the right-wing response would be if Barack Obama was doing such a thing or Joe Biden was doing such a thing? You would literally never hear the end of it, and it would be viewed as the biggest betrayal of Americans and their rights of all time. Now, to be fair, as I said, I actually am seeing some MAGA accounts that are going, whoa, I didn't sign up for this, right? But having said that, of course, you're still going to have the cult of the Kool-Aid drinkers who absolutely will never abandon Trump no matter what. Now, the guy who is, at the top of Palantir, there's a couple of people who are at the top of Palantir, but the biggest name is probably Peter Thiel. Now, Peter Thiel is a tech billionaire oligarch robber baron, and this is a guy who, I really don't think this is an exaggeration to say, I don't know if there's a single person that trusts him. Why? Because he is very, very disturbing as a human being. So let me show you, just to set the table here for you, let me show you, he was on with Piers Morgan not that long ago. Piers Morgan asked him a question about the Luigi Mangione assassination of the health insurance CEO, and look at how this guy answers this question, okay? This is Peter Thiel, y'all. Here we go.
And to those who think this shooter is a hero because he did it because he said this healthcare executive was presiding over a healthcare system which kills thousands of Americans by denying them cover. What would you say to them?
None of this is edited, by the way. None of this is edited.
It's I don't know what to say. I still think you should try to make an argument, and I think this is you should, there may be things wrong with our healthcare system, but you have to make an argument, and you have to try to find a way to convince people and change it by that. And this is not going to work.
Peter,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's I mean, there are all sorts of things one could say about it, but I don't think, and I think the motives feel, I don't want to go into all the particulars here, but I don't think there's anything heroic about him.
Do you want that guy having literally all of your data, creating a file on you that the government can then use and they can exploit you with? I mean, this is literally like, when you're watching some sort of a superhero movie or something, and you have the villain, and the villain has access to all these files that gives them information on everybody, and then they use that for whatever they want. That's what we're talking about here. That's what Palantir does. Palantir partnered, ready for this? They partnered with the Israeli government to use AI in the genocide of Gaza. Stop and think about that. So this way, the Israeli soldiers get to say, oh man, you can't blame me, even if we ended up getting some civilians. That's not my fault. We were using AI, and the AI is hyper intelligent. And so they're responsible for the targets that were chosen. Who are we? We're just some puny humans. We had no say in who was picked and who wasn't picked. Palantir creates that sort of a system. It's a data company, a tech data company that can create that sort of a system. A lot of their stuff is used for warfare, and now they want files on every single American. So let me give you some more here. This is from the MSNBC article on it. Trump appears to be building an unprecedented spy machine that could track Americans. A new report shines light on contracts with tech company Palantir, which could create data profiles of Americans to surveil and harass them. As Donald Trump and his administration pursue crippling austerity measures across the country, they're plunging millions of dollars into the president's pet projects, and that includes reportedly giving hundreds of millions of dollars to a company that's expanding the government's ability to spy on its own citizens. The New York Times has a new report on the administration awarding contracts to the controversial tech company Palantir, which is apparently helping Trump develop a database of Americans' private information scraped from various government agencies that could theoretically be used to track or persecute them. So this is according to the Times. Quote, The push has put a key Palantir product called Foundry into at least 4 federal agencies, including DHS and the Health and Human Services Department. Widely adopting Foundry, which organizes and analyzes data, paves the way for Mr. Trump to easily merge information from different agencies, the government official said. Creating detailed portraits of Americans based on government data is not just a pipe dream. The Trump administration has already sought access to hundreds of data points on citizens and others through government databases, including their bank account numbers, the amount of their student debt, their medical claims, and any disability status. Mr. Trump could potentially use such information to advance his political agenda by policing immigrants and punishing critics, Democratic lawmakers and critics have said. So, as you all know, they are flagrantly violating the law in going after pro-Palestine protesters, anti-genocide protesters, locking them up with no due process whatsoever, sometimes indefinitely. Imagine them having all of your social media posts, all of your bank account information, all of your medical information, every single fact that is public and known about you that used to be private, but now it's becoming public. Now it's put into one file. Imagine what they can do knowing all of that information. How do we know? They won't say, hey, if you support Palestinians, that is material support for Hamas, which means it's material support for terrorism. Therefore, we're freezing your bank account. And there's nothing you can do about it. I really don't think people have fully wrapped their mind around how devastating this is and how much this destroys the Constitution, our rights, freedom of speech. They continue. The White House did not respond to the Times' request for comment, and Palantir declined to comment on its work with the Trump administration. It pointed to a company blog post that said organizations that license its products define what can and cannot be done with their data. They control the Palantir accounts. So in other words, hey, it's okay. Palantir's not actually making the decisions with this data. We're just compiling the data. The very responsible Trump regime will decide what to do with this data. The Times report aligns with concerns about surveillance and the weaponization of federal data highlighted by Rachel Maddow during a recent episode featuring Times reporter Julia Angwin. Palantir is one of several private companies that have capitalized on Trump's authoritarian ambitions. The company has been tapped as a key player in Trump's mass deportation plans. And earlier this year, Palantir CEO Alex Karp gave investors a pretty grim summary of what the company's full slate of work for the Trump administration could entail. This is what Mother Jones said about it. I'm very happy to have you along for the journey, the CEO said. We are crushing it. We are dedicating our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. Palantir is here to disrupt, he continued. And when it's necessary to scare our enemies and on occasion, kill them. Oh my God. He said, and when it's necessary to scare our enemies and on occasion, kill them. A mass data company that's openly bragging about, yeah, we use our information to kill our enemies. Needless to say, putting American data in the hands of a company whose CEO boasts about his company's capacity to kill and intimidate doesn't inspire confidence that the data will be handled responsibly. On that note, I've been laser focused on the government's surveillance capabilities in the age of artificial intelligence, particularly under the Trump administration. To learn more about the technologies that enable the sort of surveillance Trump and Palantir could soon unleash on Americans, check out my interview with surveillance and privacy expert Albert Fox Kahn from 2023. Okay, what is there to say about this? I remember when George W. Bush did the Patriot Act. I remember the massive backlash from the public about that, right? I mean, that was really opening the door to saying, actually, your constitutional rights are not rights. They are privileges that we were offering you, and now we're taking away those privileges. We're going to do mass spying with the Patriot Act. Now, this takes it above and beyond. This puts that on steroids because it says, to this point, yeah, there's some data about you out there, but there's not an amalgamation, a compilation of all of the data about you that's put together in one file that the federal government can access whenever the hell they want. And that's what they're saying is happening here. Now, by the way, I should also point out, it started a few months ago. They came out and said, oh, we're putting together files of every illegal immigrant. That's what they originally said, right? Oh, we're going to help them with the mass deportations. We're going to put together files on illegal immigrants. But by definition, if you do this massive crackdown on illegal immigrants, they are also going to have to differentiate who's an illegal immigrant versus who's a naturalized citizen versus who's born an American citizen. And so they need information on everybody in order to do that. So anytime you open the door to persecution and oppression of one particular community, you're actually opening up the door so that it's mission creep, and over time, others will also face that oppression. So this is something, again, people really need to wrap their minds around what's happening here. Are you going to trust the regime that was just rounding up a 4-year-old American citizen with cancer and deporting them with no medicine, that was arresting a woman immediately after she gave birth? That's what ICE did. That's rounding up an innocent person with no criminal record like Kilmar Abrego Garcia and sending them to a slave labor gulag concentration camp in El Salvador. Are you going to trust that regime to have literally all of your data? And by the way, for any Republican out there who might defend this under Trump and say, oh, they're just making the data more efficient and putting it all together, what could be wrong with that? They're just being efficient with the government. How do you not understand that there will come a day when Trump is no longer in power? Right? Even if you trust this guy, no matter what, to the high heavens, how are you going to feel when it's some hardcore left-wing Democrat, an FDR clone, who gets back in office? How are you going to feel about that? Right? Are you going to like it? Even if there's like a centrist Democrat, these Republicans would melt down if they had access to this data. So it's not even about how you feel in this exact moment about this. It's about the long-term possibilities for authoritarianism and oppression when you allow the government to have absolutely all of this, compile it into one database, and then, like I said, on a whim decide, we're against this group of people, we're against that group of people, you're not allowed to have this policy belief, you're not allowed to have that policy belief. There is no world in which this ends well. There's not. This is part of the what's called the imperial boomerang, because the sorts of oppression methods that are deployed on U.S. enemies overseas, it always ends up coming full circle and back to police us domestically, right? You saw this with Abu Ghraib and Guantanamo Bay, that opened up the door saying, actually, torture is just a matter of opinion. We're legally allowed to do it if we want. And then boom, now they could round up whoever they want, send them to a concentration camp in El Salvador where they get tortured. So whatever's used overseas will also be used here. Oh, we're using drones as machines of death overseas. Well, how much longer do you think until drones are used here to police the domestic population? There is no world in which this ends well. I keep trying to impress this upon you. There is no world in which this ends well. And so there needs to be a revolt. There needs to be a backlash. Democrats, you need to run on, when we get in office, Palantir is being shut down. There is no more Palantir. People need to wake up. They need to wake up to this fact. You need to draw very firm, bright, red lines. Say, we're prosecuting all the billionaire robber barons that were committing crimes. We're prosecuting Elon Musk. We're going after the Trump regime. Palantir is going to be, it's not going to exist anymore. We're going to audit the shit out of them. We're going to shut them down for violating privacy rights and constitutional rights. It's over. We need to lead on this stuff. You can't have it where the right goes so far right, they're just all flat out open fascists, and then you keep trying to meet them halfway and be bipartisan. There's no bipartisanship with crazy, lest you be half crazy. You could just not be crazy at all and rep the right things. And now, again, everybody should be concerned about civil liberties and rights and justice, because in one fell swoop, we live in a dystopian, futuristic, sci-fi nightmare when they follow through with this, and they're building it and doing it right now. Hey y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.